Hmm. Hey, good to see you. It's another week, another vlog. This time, this time, I think I'll talk about, well, a bit of an update. As usual, about to have some lunch. Lunch is good. Tasty salad. Uh, it's a Sunday, and here I am, just doing a little vlog, just a bit of a catch up, waiting for my lovely wife to get back from the shops. She went to get a few things and get a neck massage. She's pregnant. Yes, my wife is pregnant, and she's where we are. We are having a boy, which is baby number 2, and it is pretty exciting now. But it wasn't pretty exciting. When everything goes well, but it wasn't like that. I mean, we went and did IVF in Russia, and I haven't, I think, until now, really been able to appreciate or relax into this pregnancy with IVF, especially as we have embryos in Russia, and every embryo, every implant, I think, yeah, they call it an implant, is like a bit of a lottery, really, because we didn't test them, we didn't do PG test. But not only that, like if you're under 35, it's not really recommended because you can potentially harm the embryo itself. It's a bit of a risk with that. It can also reduce the chance, doing a PG test, reduce the chance that it actually implants. So at the end of the day, we didn't do a PG test, but we had like about eight embryos, which were transferable. Our daughter is IVF baby. Combination. I won't go into details, but it was a combination of me and my wife's situation. I was, I think, over 40 at the time, so we didn't have that time, the luxury of time, because apparently, given the situation, it would have taken us a long time to have a baby naturally. So we did IVF, and we were very lucky to get 8 embryos, and we're very lucky on the second transfer to have a successful pregnancy, term to term, and a lovely daughter. It's incredible. And number 2 was another go. And it was just so much, like the whole time you're sitting there and you're going, is this going to work? Like first part's like, does it implant? You get the ultrasound there and it implants and you go, yes, oh yes, it implanted, that first part. The next part is just like that long week wait. My wife had bleeding, so we in the first pregnancy, so there's a chance of miscarriage, and you got high chance of miscarriage in that first few weeks, and then you get past that first few weeks, and then you have the concern about the 12 weeks scan that there's nothing wrong, and then you do your blood test, and then you've got NIPT if you want to, and then I mean, these are very low risk. Ours is a high risk pregnancy for various reasons, but the chance of trisomy, they call it, trisomy, which is a non-inherited malfunction of the duplication of the chromosomes, and you get duplications of certain chromosomes. Nonetheless, like, you got to worry about that, and then you do the scans and you hope everything's okay. And then, recently we had a person that we know that had an unfortunate incident, had a miscarriage. So I think they still called it a miscarriage up until the end of the, I think, 20-week part at 16 weeks. So, but you never know. And then at 20 weeks, you do the anatomy scan, and that's when they check whether everything's okay, because something could be wrong. And we had issues with these 2 things that were raised in our scan, and I did so much research, and I was like, so much anxiety that whole time, so much frustration, and we were advised to go check on a doctor because there could be something else. And I just read so much information about these 2 things, which were a choroid plexus cyst, which is like like a benign cyst during pregnancy, and an EIF, which is an echocardiac it's like a little white dot, calcium build up on the heart, and it doesn't really mean anything for the pregnancy. Neither of those 2 things do. We had no other things that could indicate problems with the development of the baby. But still, it was kind of like a push. You should get a doctor, and it just increased the level of anxiety. Now, I watched this one video about pregnancy, and I think it's so true. Is that the purpose of pregnancy should be to really enjoy it, and I it's hard to enjoy because you're under so much anxiety that if something doesn't go wrong, it took so much effort to get to where you are that it's like it's your whole life, right? It's like, well, we're not going to go again. We're not really. We'd have to go back to Russia. I mean, we could do it, but it would be really problematic. I mean, we had to deal with a lot of stuff to make it happen. So it's unlikely we would go for another one anytime soon, and it would just be really heavy. So we're kind of like very lucky. We did a 32-week scan recently, and the reason I had anxiety this time is because I read about dysplasias. Dysplasias are like problems with the formation of bones, and so they can be missed in the 21-week scan. A lot of them, they usually caught after the 22-week scan during the growth scan, and you see bowing and you see short limbs, and everything was okay. So there's that. But then we have a 36-week scan, and it's like, oh, well, maybe something could go wrong there. And then there's the whole thing once the baby's born is like, I remember last pregnancies, like our daughter wouldn't want to sleep anywhere but, with, against the breast. So they called it breast sleeping. And in Australia and the US, they really frown upon it because you've got the SIDS thing. And I mean, in a certain way, like it should just be kind of like you enjoy it. You're pregnant. Wow, congratulations. But around every corner, there's something to scare you, to want to do something, maybe to, hard to say, but definitely, it, it's hard to say. So the pregnancy journey for me has been not easy, but I'm grateful that I am where I am, and I'm able to get a bit more excited now, and I'm a lot less concerned than I was when we were at the sort of 5-week mark, because we flew from Russia to Australia on a plane, got here, and it's like, oh, we're here. Anything could go wrong on the plane, and it was just not fun. I couldn't enjoy the flight at all. Like we were lucky to have enough funds that we had saved up to upgrade from our premium seats to business seats. It was like instead of probably saving that money for a home loan, we use it to upgrade business class seats. So my wife would be comfortable, and not, I kind of thought it would be less of a chance that something would go wrong during pregnancy. So there's that. That's that pregnancy story. Jeez. And another interesting thing is I'm going to jump on this bandwagon a bit. And I think it's like, I watched this very short little movie about how the structure of our culture is around consumerism. And it's centered around one very simple question. And that question is, why do you go to uni? And a lot of people answered, well, to get a job. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting answer, because it's not necessarily the way that it needs to be, right? You could go to uni to open your mind, to gather knowledge, to understand the world. Like, what is the purpose, right? But it's to get a job. It's not you're not focused on what you're creating or really what you're internally you could gain from it from a personal level. But it's just about the fact of, you get a job to buy a house, to buy stuff, right? You get a job to buy food, whatever, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's the thing. Like, the culture that is formed and the way that we think, it can change. I'm not saying whatever the change is better, but for me to think that the reason I went to uni was to get a job doesn't feel right. It feels like you're being kind of exploited to have to buy stuff. And then I kind of thought, well, I'm buying this stuff, I'm filming on this, and then you got this kind of tendency to just buy stuff. And I'm almost like, maybe this is something that happens to everybody as they get older, but they go, consumerism isn't the answer, right? But when you're young, you kind of like want stuff because you kind of like, see other people have things, but so what? Why does that matter? Is it an innate part of human psychology that if someone has something, you want it too? Why is that important that somebody has something? Isn't it important what it is, what you create in the person that you are? Or is it that we've just seen that so much that it's important to what you have, that we kind of value it above who we are as to what we have? And I see that every day. I go walking and I go, oh, that's a nice house. It'd be nice to get a nice car. And it just eats away at me. And I'm like, what the? Why am I even thinking these things? It's not important. It's eating away at my time, my valuable brain capacity, and instead of thinking about what I could be creating, I have a sense of longing or wanting, uh, which really I don't like, and I'm working on how to alleviate that sense and return back to my center and focus on creating, which is what I'm doing here, really, isn't it? I don't know. That's my little spiel for today: pregnancy and consumerism. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably take this somewhere further as I go, because we are expanding our business to help support children's digital health, and I think that kind of might fit with what it is, this kind of like values that I have, and the kind of person I want to be, and how to help um, kids use computers, use digital products in a healthy way, because there's just, I think we all know at this point that the interests of corporations that want to sell you things as part of consumerism, you have to sit on computers, to sit on the screen so that they can gather information to sell you stuff, because advertisers pay for their money. So that's that system. But perhaps there's another way. Let's talk about it in another video. Maybe next week. I'll see you then.